Are we rolling? It looks like we're rolling. 6, 7. Yeah, we're rolling. Okay. I'm on my way. It's another cheap spoon. It doesn't go ding, ding, ding. It just goes tick, 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 you know. Anyway. So much is losing its metal these days. Even teaspoons. All right. Breaking protocol 2397. Welcome to another amateur video of dumpster divers, PC reclamation, making it count. Today we break protocol by doing something different. Hold on, didn't even do my slurp of the coffee. Got to do that. Oh, I like coffee. Okay, so here's my hot block. We're going to do something different, or attempt to do something different. This is not the same hot block that I showed you in the video. This hot block actually has sound. And this hot block, well, I got it for less than $500, which, you know, and that's Canadian. Can't remember precisely what I paid for it. 400 and something, I guess. 1 terabyte of storage. And interestingly enough, I've been checking the RAM on this thing, and it looks like it's ECC RAM, or error correcting RAM. But the RAM normally on the Oddblock, this model, the highest model they have, incidentally, it uses I think it's crucial memory. Anyway, memory made by Micron, and I'm impressed with that. 16 gigabytes of memory. There's a bunch of features in this laptop that impress me for what it is. I'm just looking at it right now. The processor isn't like screaming fast or anything. It's 1.7 gigahertz, but it's a laptop, you know, and I managed to get 24H2 on it, Windows 11 24H2, and I think that the Oddblock is just kind of what I need for my mobile access to PCs when I'm on the go, or, you know, when I need to use a laptop. And at this stage in the game, I need to use a laptop. I don't need to set up a whole computer, big desktop. I just need a laptop to get to where I want to go. And I'll be honest, I debated going there because I don't know if it's really even worth my breath or my energy to do this. But as you know, I have a YouTube channel. If you didn't know that, you wouldn't be watching this or listening to this right now, wherever you may be. And I almost didn't do this, but because of what I believe in, you know, yada yada, that kind of thing. Because of well, I guess out of principle, I'm making this video, and it's a talking head video. In case you didn't notice, it's a commentary on another video that I saw. It has to do with U.2. Now, this commentary video will be included in my Sage series. X299 Sage series of videos, because the X99 and the X299 both have U.2 sockets in them, and I've never used U.2, but because the X99 has two U.2 sockets, I thought, well, maybe I'll look into using U.2, and I'll see if the prices have dropped any, because I really couldn't see the advantage of U.2, frankly. I mean, U.2 is a bit like NVMe when it comes to speed. It is not as fast as the high-end NVMe that's, being available to us today. And people can scream until they're blue in the face about the great IOPS that they're getting with U.2. And for those of you who don't know what IOPS are, it's just a system of measurement for how fast you can transfer, read, and write a file in a given amount of time and with a given file size. Okay, that's basically what it addresses. And when U.2 first came out, it was pretty impressive, and they used it essentially at the commercial, industrial, enterprise level. It wasn't really used at the domestic end user level, which is something that I address myself. But I mean, I do kind of dabble in a little of that other stuff. In fact, I've actually saved certain company owners' bacon a few times because of my expertise and knowledge, even though I am not an IT. It's just that I happen to have a little expertise and knowledge, and maybe perhaps a little intuition about these things. But that aside, I started looking at videos about U.2, and I found this guy talking. I don't know if I want to do his video justice by saying who he is or where to go, because I don't know if that actually, if I were to do his video justice in the truer sense of that word, I would mention his video, the name of his channel, and I would say, listen, be prepared to be censored if you say anything this guy doesn't like. Your material isn't, it may not be included, because a number of my comments were removed from the video, making me look like an ignoramus. And there was somebody on the video who was very condescending to me and trolling me, and just, and I don't think it was the person who has the video, but it's just that I noticed that my comments to that person, even though, I kept it polite, I wasn't profane or anything. I wasn't calling him names or anything. I wasn't being condescending. They were, who the other poster was, but my comments were being deleted. And I was looking at the price of U.2 used, and well, I'll play some of this. I don't know if you can hear it or not, but should you buy?
I want to talk about U.2 and U.3 SSDs. I do not want to talk about the U.2 running on the U-Bahn through Berlin. I don't want to talk about German submarines. I don't want to talk about American planes.
That's
I
right.
don't even want to talk about the monster from Resident Evil. I definitely don't want to talk about the song U2 from Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, but more than anything, I don't want to talk about that band that stuck their album on my bloody iPhone. Roll the start.
Roll the start. Okay, good. He wants to roll the start. U.2. Should you buy them?
Hello and welcome back. And that's right, today I want to talk about the subject of...
See, there's the question right there. Should you buy them? And essentially, my approach to it was that for me, it isn't viable. It's not worth it. When I can get a brand new M.2 SSD, which is just as fast as U.2, if not faster, and odds are it would be faster. The same amount of storage, brand new and warranted, for 5, especially the high-end stuff, 5, 6, 7 years warranted. And the other stuff, U.2 used for the same capacity of storage is, 4, 5, 6 times as much. So what's going on here? Like if I have to spend even $150 to $200 for 1 terabyte of U.2 storage, and on top of that, I also have to pay for the interfacing, like the cables, right? And the enclosure, if I'm going to put my U.2 drives in an enclosure, I've got to fork out this money for used, non-warranted storage that likely isn't any faster than NVMe. Where's the advantage? And I have to pay 3, 4 times as much for it? Used? So I just wanted to make that point. And I was met with a plethora of outrage, if you will, by some troll. And, I tried to reason with them, and I mentioned, it's really about user preference, and they got all upset because I mentioned, why do you keep saying user preference? Listen, what I've learned about building computers in these past 22 years is clients have their own preference for things. People have their own preference. If you prefer to spend $300 to $400 on 1 terabyte of used U.2 storage, and pay for the what do they call it? The whatever you contain the storage in, right? If you want to pay for that, and pay for the cable that goes with that, right? U.2, because you can't use just a typical SATA. Well, in some cases you can, but you're not going to get U.2 performance. You have to use a U.2 cable for U.2 performance. Some SSDs give you the best of both worlds. You're probably going to have to pay for that too. If you want to, that's your preference, right? And, I respect that, for whatever reason. Maybe it just makes you feel happy. Maybe you're just happier using U.2. because it's not faster than NVMe. It might be faster than SATA M.2, but it's not faster than NVMe. If it makes you happier to pay, 3 to 4 times as much for used storage than you would pay for brand new storage, pardon me, well, that's your preference. But it's not mine. And I got jumped on because apparently, how dare I compare apples and oranges? How dare I compare enterprise level U.2 with domestic end user level NVMe? How dare I? Well, I dare. And the reason I dare is because when you're buying this used U.2 storage that's likely been running for years on commercial industrial servers or whatnot, that sort of application, okay, it doesn't matter what the software is telling you with respect to number of hours or the smart status, okay, because those are numbers, okay, it is what it is. It's been running likely for years, 24/7, likely in a server setting, okay, and you're paying 3 to 4 times as much for it used than you would be paying for a warranted product that gives you the same amount of storage and better speed. And I had no idea that, me making that point was going to be met with such outrage. But, how dare I compare? Well, I do. I do make that comparison. And, yes, I'm sure that U.2, enterprise U.2, has lots of endurance, and that individual made a point about endurance, and I thought, well, for that matter, they're trying to, it seemed to me that, they were trying to emphasize that, well, this is enterprise. Yeah, so what? I made the point, your HECMR drives, SATA drives, they're enterprise too. Okay, and these are like, clunk drives. These are spinning rust, right? So what? They're enterprise too. Just calling them enterprise doesn't mean that you necessarily have an advantage. It doesn't. Okay, if it's used, my argument is if it's used, it's used. Okay, it's used. And for me, I don't want to shell out for U.2 at those sorts of prices. Used. If I can get a CMR helium-filled 12 terabyte CMR drive for $150, okay, and the most I can get for $150 in U.2 is 1 terabyte. 1 terabyte for $150. Plus, I'm going to have to get, the the containment and the cable for it, right? I think I'm better off with the CMR drive, because I mean the helium-filled CMR drive is also enterprise. Also has endurance. In fact, I haven't had one fail on me yet. And I made that point to them, and they kind of got all sarcastic on me because I told them that I haven't had one fail on me yet. And I haven't. In fact, I have a number. I have a 12 terabyte Exos, Seagate Exos, that I purchased used. It didn't have a lot of hours on it. I have to admit that it didn't have a lot of hours on it. But it's running fine. It's doing great, and I paid $150, and I've got what? I've got, and that's Canadian, by the way. So pretty close to $100 US for 12 terabytes of storage. Oh, and it's a little bit slower than NVMe, of course it is. Of course it is. And, I mean, they went on about, how, yeah, you can get that spinning rust running at 10,000 RPM or 15,000 RPM. So what? It's still not going to be fast. It's not going to be fast like U.2. Well, of course not. Of course not. Like, this person kept overstating the obvious, and this person was telling me, doesn't seem like you really understand storage, and talking down to me as if I didn't know what I was talking about. Now, admittedly, I'm not an IT, but I've been doing this for 22 years. One would think I would have a little bit of comprehension with respect to storage. But I will read what I wrote here. But so much of what I wrote was eliminated by whoever does the editing on this channel. So I stated that I was thinking about addressing this on my own channel, saying how my comments are being removed. And I mean, what's the point? It's not fair. It's not a fair playing field if we're going to have a debate, because this person was they were typing such missives. I mean, long narratives. I mean, I had no idea that they were going to be so upset about this. They're writing me books on this guy's channel. And, pardon me, but every time I tried to respond to them, it was just, wow, and to meet them point by point, of course, that meant that my response had to be lengthy to meet their every point. And, they were just attacking me. So, at least they left one of my comments, and I'll read it to you. I typed, I suppose it can be argued that one gets what one pays for. And the video touches on this. I was being fair. It isn't uncommon for U.2 to cost 6 to 7 times as much as standard NVMe drives. That's true. No, I'm not talking high-end NVMe, okay? Standard. Okay, like not Gen 4, Gen 3, right? NVMe, right? Your standard, you're doing maybe about 1,000. You're doing about a gigabit speed at most, maybe even less. Okay, I'm not talking about M.2. I'm talking about M.2 NVMe. All right. This cold, I really wish it would go away. For example, I say, a 1 terabyte NVMe drive can be easily purchased for less than $100 Canadian. You could get 7 of these for the price of one single U.2 1 terabyte drive with read and write speeds that won't be any faster than M.2 NVMe. Now that's true. I said, my system board sports two U.2 sockets and I never use them. Unless you're running a server with 100 terabytes of storage capacity, I just don't see the point. With advancement in NVMe technology, M.2 just keeps getting better and better. Higher-end NVMe will come with longer lifetime warranties, and even after paying for this, the price completely defeats the cost of using U.2 drives, and it does. Today's system boards can easily provide enough express lanes to run 50 terabytes of NVMe storage and then some with an appropriate CPU. Now that's true. Mine can. You know? And my X299 Sage isn't, you know, the latest, greatest bleeding edge system board out there. Okay? In fact, it's pretty well approaching end of life, even though it's Windows 11 ready. Well, we're told it is anyway. The only argument for U.2, I write, that seems to have any teeth is the capacity durability argument. And even this becomes dubious in the face of improvements in NVMe technology. After all, in the end, all silicon fails. That's what I write. That was met with such a plethora of outrage, I couldn't believe it. I mean, this guy, I don't know, maybe he's got money invested in this or something, because he defended this thing to the teeth. I mean, he started like, I don't know what, and you know, and the more I tried to be diplomatic and respectful in my approach and polite, the angrier that this individual seemed to become. I mean, to the point where but what I found annoying was that my comments were being deleted. And I just I thought, well, that's not fair. This individual is making a lot of comments and doesn't look like their comments are being deleted. And they look pretty stupid, actually, because it almost looked like he was talking to himself, because he obviously was getting my comments and reading them, and then they were disappearing. And he would address them like, you know, this isn't about saving the environment, even though he had brought that up himself. And I answered him saying, you know, look, I'm all for saving the environment, hence dumpster divers, PC, you know, reclamation, right? I'm all for that sort of thing. I'm not against that sort of thing, you know, but he had alluded to that, you know, that, you know, getting something to the effect how buying used was better. And you know, I don't disagree with that. You know, I understand that. But for me personally, and that's the point. I was speaking for me personally. I mean, and that was another thing. It was, why are you always talking about user preference? Well, I'm talking about user preference because user preference matters. As a PC builder, you will learn very quickly, if you're building for other people, that user preference really matters. Okay, what they prefer. It's not really, what you think is best. I mean, to an extent, you need to know what their needs are, and they need to communicate their needs to you. All right? To tell you what it is that they want their computer to do. And, or what, like, they need to communicate to you, I want my computer, I want a gaming computer, I want something I want to game on, right? Well, then you have to kind of have a little bit of knowledge of games, because not all games are the same. And, game requirements, right? Because there's online gaming, and then there's, gaming where you can play the game right offline. There's shooter games, there's, games that require ray tracing, and the latest DirectX features, and it just goes on and on, right? It can get pretty complicated, gaming. But I mean, if you're just playing, a simple online graphics game, using HTML, and well, you can do that on most computers. You don't really need anything too high end. But, and then there's like, sort of the mid area gaming category, where, it wouldn't hurt to have a little bit of good graphics. And my daughters, they use Steam. I don't have Steam. I like building computers. I mean, don't get me wrong. I sometimes get in a game, play it for a while, but I mean, I do a little gaming, but not like some people. Some people are really hardcore, and that's their preference. So user preference really does matter. Well, I just need a computer that I can check my emails on, or just do some text, and do a little bit of browsing. I want to watch some videos on it. Okay. That's a different class of computer, right? And then there's kinds that I don't even want to watch videos. I just want to text. Like, you don't need a lot for that. If you just want to, you just want to browse. But I would say that you need something that these days can handle a video at least, and most computers can now, But it really depends. Then there's like, I want a computer I can do, I was just looking at the stats for my daughter. She wants to go into university. And university, they want, like, in terms of a processor chip, of the laptop, it should be an i7. They want an i7 laptop. And, minimum 256 gigabyte SSD hard drive, and a minimum of 16 gigabytes of RAM system memory. I know that the PC that I got her can handle all their requirements and then some, even though it's not an i7, it's an i5, but it's a high-end i5. So I'm pretty sure it can handle all the requirements. I know why they're saying what they're saying, but yeah, okay. So you see, again, user preference. It does matter. And, if somebody prefers to use U.2, I say power to you. That's fine. But I stated that for me, that price is going to have to come down. Because I cannot justify paying that much money for used drives. Okay, now with SSDs, they don't wear like mechanical hard drives. Okay, each cell in the silicon only lasts so long, only has so much life, can only be written so long. So a lot of the silicon has a lot of headroom, and that means extra space that you don't really see until you burn out some cells, and then there are other cells held in reserve to be used for when those cells get burnt. Okay, and they deal with that. They don't defrag. You don't defrag an SSD. You use something called trim. But for those of you who don't know, I mean, a lot of you know, but some people don't know, and I try to keep that in mind, that not everybody knows this, right? So, when you start talking about things like U.2 being used 24/7 for years in a commercial server, a lot of that headroom can get used up pretty fast. And that's what they call it, headroom. That other storage that you don't really see when you check your drive. And some of these drives have very little headroom, and so those SSDs don't last as long. You know, some of these Chinese jobs, you know, they don't have much in the way of headroom, you know, and so when the cells burn, well, the size and the capacity of that drive gets smaller and smaller and smaller until it, like, just basically it locks up. You can't write over it anymore. You can still read it, but you're not going to be able to write over it. So I'm just trying to say that, you know, when you're buying used, buyer beware, right? Maybe this fellow's got some kind of business, you know, where he sells used U.2 drives. I don't know, because I don't think I've ever been met with such, you know, such vociferous comments. Just because I wanted to point out, you know, that you know, the price is going to have to come down for me to justify to myself spending that much money on a used U.2 SSD. And for me, I would rather see, you know, if you know, if I can get a 12 terabyte helium-filled Exos Seagate drive for $150 Canadian, then I think I should be able to get at least a 6 terabyte U.2 drive for about $200. 6 terabytes, that's right. You know, and if I can't even get that, what am I paying for? You know, well, you're paying for the speed. Yeah, but it's used, okay? And it's very likely been in a server, industrial server, commercial operation for a good amount of time. And numbers are numbers. And I remember someone saying numbers don't lie. No, but people do. And just because the numbers say something doesn't mean that the wear and tear, the physical wear and tear on that drive has brought it to the point where it's not going to last that much longer. And, you can't just believe the numbers, Trust in the forest, Luke. Anyway, I'm just saying, buyer beware. Because, if I can get 12 terabytes of storage, which is reliable, it might be slower, but it's dependable, and it's also, enterprise, and it's also endurance. I mean, this person was criticizing me for comparing U.2 to spinning Rust, but I didn't just compare it to spinning Rust. I was comparing it to NVMe as well. In fact, my opening statement, I just read it. It was, it's all about NVMe. But when they start going on, well, U.2 is enterprise. Yeah, so what? In fact, because it's enterprise, it might even have a greater risk of being, burned out. Because it's seeing 24/7 server operation. But really, if I've got to spend anywhere from $150 to $200 for 1 terabyte of storage, and I can get 12 terabytes of storage for the same amount of money, enterprise, endurance, but a little bit slower, I think I'm going to go for that 12 terabytes. Now, cut it in half. Okay, 6 terabytes. So now I'm going to pay the same amount for half as much storage. But it's faster. Well, that seems fair. It's faster, right? Okay, so now I pay $200 for 6 terabytes. Well, it's going to be a while, right? Okay, well, we'll cut it in half again. We'll say a quarter, right? We'll cut it even in half again, right? We'll say a quarter, 3 terabytes. Can I get a 3 terabyte U.2 drive for $150? No, I can't. No. They want more than that. They want how much for that? Maybe $500-$600 for a used? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. You got money to burn? User preference? Whatever. I respect your preference if that's what you prefer. Why are you going on about user preference? Well, because user preference counts. And obviously this person didn't respect my user preference, but I tried to respect theirs, but I wasn't saying, you don't seem to know very much about hard drives. You don't seem to know very much about capacity. You don't really seem to understand IOPS. You don't know what you're talking about. I wasn't saying that to them. I wasn't implying that. I was just saying, for me, it isn't viable. It's not practical. And I did point out, if you're running a server with 50 terabytes or more storage, might be worth it for you. But then if you're running a commercial industrial server with 50 to 100 terabytes of storage, you're probably better off using brand new, still warranted storage. I would recommend that, because you likely have a customer base, and they're depending on you. Oh yeah, but domestic storage, it burns out fast, and really, does it? I don't know. I think that if you get if you buy quality, I think you can get some pretty high endurance at the domestic end user level that would rank right up there with your enterprise level stuff. And I think that there's some out there. I think Western Digital, of all people, have come up with some pretty high-end endurance stuff, the Western Digital Black NVMe. Like, I won't even look sideways at Western Digital spinning rust, because for me, my experience has been horrible with Western Digital mechanical hard drives. But they've come out with some pretty, endurance material, like pretty good, long-lasting, strong, last the whole warranty, life of the warranty, NVMe. And, that's the test of time now, right? I think Samsung comes out with some pretty reliable silicon, and stands behind their product. One thing that really surprised me in the world of NVMe is some of Hynix's latest stuff. I mean, it's kind of funny. It's like a game changer, because I think a lot of people are familiar with Hynix silicon not being all that reliable, but the performance from SK Hynix in the world of NVMe has been really raising eyebrows. So I think Crucial has quite a reputation for endurance silicon and life expectancy of silicon. Micron, right? Micron makes Crucial. So I think it's out there at the domestic end user level. I don't think that you have to go enterprise level to find it. And I think that at the domestic end user level, you probably don't need to use U.2 for any reason, because it's just not economically viable to do that. And somebody's complaining, you see, this is the problem, this is why nobody seems to see why U.2 is better. Well, boo-hoo, cry me a river. Drop your prices, make it more affordable. There's a reason U.2 is going extinct. And if you can't make it more affordable, then people aren't going to buy it. That's just the way it is. I mean, you're going to still have your fans, like me and my big ugly case, my Cooler Master case that I love so much, my extended EATX. But I'm a fan, right? It's not with the times anymore, right? Well, U.2 is not keeping up with the times, and really, it's just not practical. Start selling 3 terabytes for $100 of that used storage. 3 terabytes for $100 or less. Yeah, okay. I might consider that, to buy that used storage that might be used for like years, 24/7 in a server. I might still buy it because it's endurance, right? It's endurance. I might be disappointed too. Might just crap out on me within a week of buying it, right? That's the risk I'm taking. That's the gamble I'm taking. And the person there, talking to me is like, well, if you're all worried about buying stuff without a warranty, well, I'm not worried about it. I'm not that overly concerned about it. But, there's that aspect that needs to be looked at. How much of a coverage am I going to get on that? If it craps out on me after 1 week of use because it's been used for years, 24/7 in some server, right? I think it's a worthy concern. I don't think it's a concern shared out of ignorance. But anyway, I'm addressing that individual if they want to come to my channel and talk to me. I'm not going to discuss it on this channel because somebody on this channel is deleting my comments. Somebody here on this channel
U.2 and U.3 SSDs.
is deleting my comments.
And